Hey folks, everything new under the sun. This is just going to be a short little update. World War III is very much on the horizon. I think we're going to look back at 2024 and recognize that that indeed was the start of World War III. World War III then leads us into a great political leader which stands up and in the context of world economic collapse, world famine, and world war, and says, peace, peace, and I will bring peace, and I will give each of the three monotheistic religions a place in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount to pray. You're looking at my timeline of the Return of the Lord there, which says war in 2024, out of frame there a little bit. But the war in 2024 includes what I think could be the kickoff of the 7-year period, and more specifically, the kickoff of the first 3.5 years. That first 3.5 years starts with peace, and it starts with the Antichrist leader. Now, this may not happen into 2025. Seems like World War III is kind of a slow train wreck, and the world is slowly spiraling downwards and barreling towards that, but it's in slow motion. And if you look back at the biblical history, you look at all the battles and the wars of the Jews and the periods, wandering in the wilderness. All these things happen in a few chapters in the Bible, and you read through it in a minute or two. But these were very long periods of time for the people actually living through this, even generations, for one big event to switch into the new big event and the new big milestone in Bible history. So the fact that these things are going slowly and we don't exactly know when it's going to occur doesn't mean that it's never going to occur. And when you're inside of it, it's hard to know. When we look back at it, hindsight is going to be 20/20, right? We're going to realize, that made a lot of sense, or that didn't make a lot of sense. Point is, I think we're moving quickly there. I think as soon as a few nuclear weapons are dropped and World War III kicks off, at least there's an initial volley, that is what causes the markets to collapse. That is what causes the world to start saying, please give us a world leader, a messiah, a savior to save us from all this madness, this nuclear war, and to save us from our economic collapse. That's what happened, by the way, in World War II, where the war used up all the money on both sides, and there was famine and depression, economic trouble coming out of that. Now, coming out of it, of course, there was a great boon as well, especially in the United States, because the United States held a lot of the money from that war, and they got a lot of money out of that war. But in other locations, they had to recover, and it was years and years of poverty and recovering and all these sorts of things that they had to go through. And likewise here, I think when World War III starts, the markets will drop and collapse even. It will, all the debt that is in the world that is weighing us down, it's all going to disappear. But when it disappears, when the whole economic system resets, they're going to have something to replace it with. And by the way, all your assets are going to drop in value to near zero at that point. Again, that's when the world, all the citizens of the world are on their knees, just like during COVID, during the pandemic, where we said, please leaders, please government, please save us. And, we will do whatever you tell us, government. Just save us, give us some food, and bring us some peace. And that's what's going to happen during that period. So I think this could very well be, again, the kickoff of the World War III, which then triggers this first 3.5 years, which leads to the Antichrist. So with that, let's take a look at a couple of articles here, which I think are very, very interesting. This is a senior NATO official says, prepare for wartime scenario as Britain and France consider deploying troops in Ukraine. Now, this is very much akin, I think, to what the newspapers would have been saying in the day before World War II started, where they start talking about, the enemy that is approaching, and do they need to join the war, and when is the right time to join it, and all these things. So if you go back and read your history, you'll kind of see what we're going through, all written there. History just repeats itself ultimately, and I think that's what we're seeing here. This is your hedge, and it says, NATO revives talks. Let me go to a reader here. NATO revives talk of sending European troops to Ukraine, warns biz leaders to prepare for wartime scenario. What does that mean? Business leaders, warning business leaders? That means the government is going to take control of your facility. You're going to be commandeered. You're going to have to create, all your profits are going to go to the government. B, you're going to have to build weapons and ammunition and whatever it may be that the army needs for the war effort, and you will not be making whatever products you were making anymore. And this is why business leaders are being warned of this, because they're getting ready to move into a wartime scenario. You don't say this sort of stuff unless you're actually heading in that direction. Ukraine's former top military commander claims World War III has already begun. And again, I said it did. We started with the COVID and the pandemic, and that was the first stretching of the legs of the world government to see what they could do, to see who would listen. And they got a lot of data on that, by the way. They found out exactly through cell phone usage. The Canadian Army tracked all Canadians. And through cell phone usage, they could see who were abiding, who was following the lockdown laws by tracking cell phones. So the government knows what percentage of the public is going to trust them, and ultimately, even if they don't trust them, to do what they say and comply when they declare martial law, because that's effectively what the lockdown was. It was effectively martial law. I don't know how you call it anything else. If you went out of your house for something other than you were supposed to, you could be arrested. So take that for what it's worth. So that was a great training exercise. Whether it was purposely done by the government or not, it doesn't matter. The military has their data. The government now has their data. They have an example in history where they said, stay in your houses for a couple of days, a week, whatever it may be. And now they have the data showing how many complied with that. And so they're ready to go into martial law and into World War III, because they know they will have a good percentage of people who will comply and who will always comply ultimately, and a small number of people who will dissent. And COVID was a small thing. With war, they can even send you to jail, if you're not getting in the military, whatever it may be. If you're running away from the military, even worse, in the history, if you look in history, if you didn't go to the front lines, you were just shot on spot. You were killed. So the stakes increase rapidly. So how many fewer people are there going to be resisting the government at that time when the stakes are that much higher, going to jail or even dying? So it's an incredible world we live in, and I think as always, we're in the last days. The Lord's coming back soon. Things are shaping up with the third temple and the red heifer. All things are ready to go. We're just waiting for a switch to flip. We're waiting for God to say, okay, this is it. This is the moment. And things will go fast. Everything is staged. Everything is on stage and in place, ready to go. And so as soon as the Lord says, all right, let's set off. Let's light up the last days, the last 7-year period, the tribulation and the great tribulation. It's all ready to go, and it could turn on a dime at any moment. It could happen as quick as Putin pressing a red button, or Biden pressing a red button and nukes starting to fly. And we are close to that now with the escalation, with the ATACMS in Ukraine, Russia, and the other incursions. And now with Russia saying, you know what? We know Ukraine is using U.S. weapons, so we're going to target a U.S. base in Poland. That's what they've come out and suggested they would do. And this keeps increasing. You notice that nobody's talking about peace. Trump talked about it for a short while. Biden has never talked about actual peace. And in fact, he has escalated the situation by allowing Ukraine to use long-range missiles into the sovereign landmass of Russia. So the current administration 100% is not interested in stopping this war. We'll find out if Trump is actually going to stop the war, but we may end up with another war on our hands in Iran. So we'll see how it goes. So I'll leave there, guys. Keep the faith. Keep running the race, as it will get harder. And I think I'll leave it there. I was going to talk about something else. I might do that in another video, but that's probably going to get banned for misinformation or something if I talk about it. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.